I thought in the first half, Denver's a very, very good offensive team. They've been playing at a high level offensively, but I just felt like in the first half we could have done a better job defensively in a lot of different areas. And then I thought in the second half our guys really played a terrific defensive game in terms of, I know they maybe missed some shots, but I thought the effort, the contesting of gem shots, the rotations, our energy was really, really good in terms of making some extra effort plays to try to get ourselves back in plays to make shots difficult. And then again, I thought offensively, we had, I thought, two, very, very good halves. I thought we moved the ball well. I thought we generated good shots. I thought the one thing that helped us there in the third quarter is when we went big with Ennis and Steven, we were kind of able to separate a little bit and get a little bit of a cushion. But overall, I thought we got much better defensively in that second half.
Coach, were those transition post-ups for Steven in that third quarter stretch intentional? Was that something that you saw going into that little stretch there?
Yeah, I think it's been intentional for us because a lot of times from a defensive standpoint, when you rebound the basketball, a lot of times the bigs are kind of trailing in. So you want to keep spacing because Russell's so good in transition, and the last thing you want to do is have a lot of guys running into the lane because it jams things up for him. But what we've talked about is if our bigs are up ahead of the ball to get in front of the rim into deep post up, and I thought Steven did a great job against Milwaukee. We got a couple early against Charlotte. Same thing even with Houston. So Steven's done a terrific job of identifying opportunities to run and seal and post, and we certainly want him to do that when he's up ahead of the ball. And I think the other thing, too, is it gives Russell an opportunity to advance pass up to him for post-ups. And it also allows Russell, if our wings are running wide, to drive the ball, and then if the big steps up, Steven's got opportunities to either dump down passes or offensive rebounds. So it's definitely something we've talked about and have tried to work on from game to game.
Russell's on a bit of a three-point binge right now. Not necessarily, makes for sure the last two games, but 4 straight games now, I think, with double-digit three-point attempts. Aside from just sheer game-to-game randomness, is there a reason why you think he's putting up so many threes over the last few?
Well, listen, I totally trust him because he studies the game, like I've talked about. He really, really wants to win. And I would say this, like when he's got it going, like he did in Houston tonight, I want him to heat check a few times. Like I don't think it's a problem with him doing that. I think there's a balance between, okay, I let one and let two go. I didn't make them. Now, okay, what do I need to do? But he's that kind of player that you want to provide freedom for him where if he does have it going, that he has some freedom to do that. And the Houston game, he kind of got it going from behind the line. Listen, if he goes 7 for 12 from the three-point line, everybody would take that every day, nonstop. We'll take them all. But when he gets a couple in a row, I think you have to let him maybe take a couple more that may look highly contested or difficult because he can make them. But then there becomes, if he misses a couple, then it becomes the balance of, okay, you know what, like, what do I need to do now? And let's shift off this a little bit. And I felt like in the Houston game and this game, he's done a little bit of that, and like I trust him. And like I thought he did a phenomenal job tonight, in my opinion. Like he gave Domas incredible confidence because he kept going to him and he kept going to him and he kept going to him and he's talking to guys and he's trying to lift guys up. But then there's times, where he's like kind of, creating and doing some things and things start going well for him. He's doing basically the same exact thing he did to Domas. He kept post-feeding Domas every single time because Domas was scoring, good things were happening. Well, he's made a few threes. Well, let's see what happens. Let's keep going to it. And that's kind of what we did. Or he did, I should say.
Billy, how did you kind of ultimately decide when to use Cam, how much to use him, and how did you think he looked when you had him in there?
Again, I really, really trust Samaj. Samaj has done a great job. I think I mentioned before the game that, I really look at our team as a team. I was going to throw him in there on Samaj's minutes. I didn't know how Denver would play, because they've played a lot of different lineups, and the way they've played now compared to when we saw them in November is totally different. I thought there may be an opportunity to put Samaj in there today, if they had 3 guards in there, but it didn't work out that way. But I wanted to get Cameron in there for Russell on the first rotation, and I thought Cameron played well and did a really, really nice job for us.
Cameron kind of came out aggressively, it seemed like, looking for a shot a little bit. Then he kind of pulled it back, seemed to run the offense a little bit. Did you see him maybe trying too hard not to force things offensively? Or?
Yeah, I think there was part of that. One of the things I try to talk to him a little bit about is, our second unit has kind of created a little bit of a rhythm, and I explained to him a little bit that I think that he needs to fit into that rhythm. It's not about those other 4 guys adjusting to him. He has to adjust to the other 4 guys. And he knows all the play calls. Obviously, he's been in practices. He knows what's going on. And, for us, that post-up stuff with Ennis has been really effective, and it's been efficient, jamming it inside to him. And then we had kind of a combination of, putting Victor in middle pick and rolls. And then we kind of ran him in some pick and rolls, and the ball found him a few times, and, he made some shots. But I also think now the next part for him is now how does he figure out after this first game, because I thought it was really important the first game for him to fit in with the other 4 guys and then kind of expand from there. But now the next part is, how do I help him? How does he help himself? Now kind of incorporate some of that stuff. I actually after the first 2 or 3 minutes that he was out there, I thought he really was well balanced. He found himself a few times and made some shots that were good for us, and then I thought he post-fed and got the ball inside where it needed to go. So I really thought he was balanced and unselfish and really played the right way.
You guys all year have kind of given up a decent amount of shots in the restricted area in terms of just attempts, and the last couple of games it's come back to bite you. Is there anything that in particular that you want to improve on
in terms of come back to
in terms of just keeping guys out of the restricted area?
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's really a fine line. I don't, and every coach, I don't like layups and dunks. Those are bad plays. But there are certain situations where somebody gets into the halo or the restricted area and you're going up over Steven Adams. I like that because if he's not there, we're giving up a layup. 2, if he doesn't come over or does come over and we're not rotationally moving correctly, we're giving up corner threes. See, that's the problem. When the ball gets to the deep paint, it's not necessarily a deep paint shot, in my opinion. It's more what happens from there. So sometimes those deep paint shots, I really don't mind them, provided we're vertical, we're meeting them outside the restricted area, and they have to finish over length. Those are really hard shots to make. The difficulty is if you sell out as the ball's getting to the restricted area, just everybody sells out to it, guys start spraying the ball around. That's when you start giving up a lot of threes. So for me, I do not like giving up layups and wide open dunks and rolls to the rim. Like that's the area to me we've got to get better at.
Billy, I think with about, 2 minutes and change left, you guys were up by about 13 or 14 points. Was there a particular reason you stuck with most of the starters and Jeremy Grant down the stretch there?
Yeah, if I went back to the game in Denver, I think we were down by 10 or 11 with like 2 or 3 to play, and we came back and put it in overtime. So I think that when in that situation, there's obviously a lot of possessions left. I tried to get Russell out of there with maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes to go. The game had slowed down where he was off the ball. We were going to take shot clock violation. So there was really, he was able to play it out. But again, I think with what was going on with them fouling like they were, us trying to finish the game out, they got it to 14, and just a lot of things can happen. And I saw that happen for us at their place.
How important is it for guys like Domas and Alex to get to the free throw line more frequently? I mean, Domas is a guy who had, I think, 5 attempts tonight, and going into tonight he had 7.
Yeah.
And then Alex is a really good free throw shooter, and he doesn't get there probably as much as he could.
Well, the one thing I think is opening up for Alex right now that maybe hasn't opened up in the past is the fact that he's getting to the rim a little bit, and he's starting to shot fake and put the ball on the floor. And I think people are starting to see he's a little bit more than a spot-up shooter. That's, I think, a part of his game that will grow. I think that Domas getting those deep paint shots, I thought Russell did a good job, like forcing him. And he did, especially early in the game, like he established him, he kept going to him, and and Domas had some good moves. He missed a couple shots, but he got fouled, to your point, and he made some jump hooks, and it was great to see Russell do that to him.
Anyone else?
Thank you.